Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Today's Kevin Miller cash code word is fortune. That's right, fortune. Make sure you listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. during the Sean Hannity Show for your chance to win up to $5,000. So today's 8 a.m. word is fortune. Fortune. You'd be fortunate enough to win the big money, $5,000. You could donate some to the Boise Rescue Mission. And we, I got to tell you, we are so thankful to everybody who came out and pledged and brought their pennies, the Penny Patrollers. Thank you very much. We'll be at Cap-Ed today on Overland and Meridian, counting the pennies. Do want to thank everybody at Cap-Ed for allowing us to do it. Camping World, Idaho Heating and Air, the Boise Rescue Mission, Team Mazda Subaru. We appreciate everyone. We appreciate all of you coming by and really making a difference. Twice a year, we ask you to come out for the Boise Rescue Mission, and was so blessed to have a chance to hear what a lot of you had to say, and the return of Liberal Steve, which was great. Our top story this hour has to do with what's going on in the state of California. And we'll get to that in a minute. But why don't we go to Liberty Linda, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. You must be reading my mind.
Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be that kind of day. So where do we go from here? We talked a little bit about this last week. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, you remember him, former mayor of San Francisco, I believe former attorney general, right? Was that right with Gavin Newsom? Was that correct? Well, Gavin Newsom has decided in his infinite wisdom that he wants to weigh in on what's going on concerning legal and illegal immigrants. In fact, he wants to expand the health care coverage when it comes to illegal immigrants. He wants to make sure that illegals actually get health insurance. He's proposed this in California. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, Kevin Miller, that's why I left California.
Various proposals are making the rounds in the state Senate and Assembly. Health policy experts like Larry Levitt from the Kaiser Family Foundation say it would be a first.
California is one of several states that's already covered undocumented immigrant children. And if California takes the further step of covering adults as well, I'm sure other states will take notice.
Legislation would either cover all illegal immigrants over 19 or young adults and immigrants over 65. Governor Gavin Newsom is willing to spend $98 million a year, but not the billions supported by some lawmakers. The Trump administration might oppose any plan. The White House is proposing a rule designed to make U.S. residency harder if immigrants receive public assistance. Kevin Tripp, KABC News.
We thank our friends at KABC. So now, from what I understand, the state of California has a huge problem with what they call legacy costs, where you have a lot of people that have done a lot of good public works, firefighters, police officers that are on the pensions. You have people that have done their time, have played by the rules, and they get a pension from the state. Now, the question is not only with the state of California, but Illinois and others, the legacy costs, how to fund these government pensions. Now, not only that, but you have infrastructure, you have everything else. Where in the world could the governor of California come up with that type of money to give people that are here illegally health care? And the great tragedy of this is, we had a gentleman come into town last week to help us with Miller's Mission. He's doing very well financially, but he doesn't have health insurance. He looked at me and said, Kevin Miller, I got to get a real job. And I go, but you're doing so well. And he said, I need the health insurance. I'm getting older. So if you have people acting responsibly, if you have people that are doing the right thing, it seems to me that the state of California is just driving people away with any common sense. If you caught the last hour of the program, we were yapping about this with Dave Petzo. And Dave Petzo was saying, look, I'm talking to people. They want to go somewhere where there's conservative values, and hopefully the good people are coming in from California, not the libs, the crazy, wacky, zany libs. But I don't know how people can afford to live there when we're looking at this, right? Let's go to the phones. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. Interesting enough, I was just wanting to speak about California this morning because, I grew up there. It was a beautiful state. We were all proud of our state. And, Kevin, it was a very conservative state. We had beautiful blue beaches. We had everything there. And then all of a sudden, everybody's talking about moving out. And a lot of them went to Idaho. The whole state was transformed. And it's like, I still love that California that I grew up in, and my heart is there. And you know what I'm saying? And like we feel about Idaho, Idaho has some of the most marvelous people there. It's just an amazing state, amazing people there. But that's what California used to be like.
Well, what do you make of the idea of giving health care to the illegals?
I know. Everything is crazy in our nation. If we didn't have President Trump, I don't know where we'd be at this time. And we all need to get behind him, support him. There are so many conservatives in this country that are not coming out and verbally supporting our president, and we need to have that done. I know they're all over our country. We see socialism, communism trying to be taken over our country. And if people wake up and realize what communism is, what socialism is, we need to stop this, Kevin. We need to save our country, because our country, I believe, leads the world.
Well, it has for many years.
Yeah, I know. And without our president, where would we be is the question I have. And have you heard about the statues of Christopher Columbus? Someone is throwing red paint on them, trying to destroy all of those statues all over our country. And the question I have is why? I knew that there was a statue in Washington, D.C. I didn't even know there were statues all over our country. And but anyway, that's a good question, Kevin. Why are these statues being destroyed? I don't understand it. But anyway, maybe some of your callers will know why. They're throwing red paint is representation of blood all over them. So it's a good question.
All right, Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. All you do. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So back to our original question. Here we have the state of California giving probably illegal aliens health care. Now, why in the world would you do that when you're so much in the debt and the deficit when it comes to things that you're required to take care of? That's one issue. Another issue that I do want to open up the phone lines to is remembering Bill Buckner. And we talked a little bit about this last hour. And Bill Buckner is known as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was known as a member of the Boston Red Sox, and had a cameo appearance in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I'm watching the national coverage of Bill Buckner, and they don't mention his time in Idaho. Now, as we said, Reverend Bill joined us. If you missed that from the Boise Rescue Mission, you can catch anything that we talk about on KIDOTalkRadio.com on our website. But here you have Reverend Bill describing Bill Buckner giving quietly, being a behind-the-scenes guy, and that's what being here in Idaho allowed him to do. And if you have a Bill Buckner memory, if you want to share your thoughts, like I said, you would catch him at the Axiom working out with his wife, Jody. You would see him giving and being at charity events. Behind the scenes, making a difference. I think our community really has lost a great champion of this area. And I was listening to one of the sports shows last night, and they said, well, he had to move to Idaho. Well, I think he wanted to move to Idaho because here we allow people to be accepted for who they are. Here in Idaho, you have the ability to be a nice person. You're not judged. The rest of the country really doesn't understand the magic that is the Gem State, right? Let's get back to the phones. We go to R&R, who joins us now with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, R&R.
Good morning, K. Millie, Jester of the Mountain People. Hey, I'll take a talking point with Liberty Linda. I got to serve my country in Washington, D.C. in 1800 Washington Avenue when there was just a high wrought iron fence around the White House. We have in our midst pinko commie socialist And I'm sure my dear friends out there that recognize the truth, the Socialist Communist Party is at large and willing to destroy the assault that happened in 64 through 67. And the March on Washington is just as prevalent today. So what happens is once we erode all the history in Animal House and 1984 Orwellian, that's the goal. And there'll never be another Republican Party if the socialists, I call them, and my favorite word for yours is the libs, but I call them the demon rat. So if you take all the icons and just turn these kids into bisexual little perverts that have no God, but that's not going to happen because the President of the United States is the first commander-in-chief that I've saluted since Truman. Now, my talking point for the day was going to be, I didn't get to hear Touchdown Tommy. I want him to be governor of the United States of Idaho and Oregon. So if he wants to be the mayor, he can start the United States of Idaho and Oregon, and I'll help you lay the railroad tracks and create the stagecoach line so you and Brewster can just be on command happily ever after. You got any questions for me?
I think you've covered it, R&R. Thank you.
Love you too, my friend. Bye.
Love you, R&R. By the way, I do want to thank Doug from Mountain Home, traveling all the way from Mountain Home to deliver pennies for Miller's Mission. Coming up next, according to the World Health Organization, gaming may be a disease. We'll explain. Get your thoughts. Plus, one popular razor company is embracing transgenderism. We'll tell you who, and get your reaction with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Today, the World Health Organization adopted a revision of the International Statistic Classification of Diseases and Related Health Problems to include gaming disorder, which is now considered to be an addictive behavior disorder. Gaming disorder will now reportedly be listed as ICD-11 after gambling disorder in the mental behavioral or neurodevelopmental disorders section, and is described as a pattern of persistent or recurrent gaming behavior, which may be online or offline. Comicbook.com reports that if someone suffers from gaming disorder, they may exhibit impaired control over gaming and prioritize gaming to an extent that it takes precedence over other life interests, including the individual's health.
So much for Donkey Kong and Space Invaders. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. So here we have it. The World Health Organization has decided that gaming burnout is an official medical diagnosis. That's right. So if you're, and maybe this is true, we have a lot of people that they have their children, their grandchildren addicted to the gaming. Now it is an official disorder. Well, what else could be a disorder for you? What else could, legitimately take a look at this? Here are the symptoms: feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feeling negativism or cynicism. And now what are we going to do? Start suing the gaming manufacturers for being efficient? For, driving people to the brand of gaming? Whether it's Sega or Sony or Atari or whatever. Now we've got the World Health Organization saying that gaming burnout is an official medical diagnosis. And that's really what it comes down to. Are we identifying something legitimate, or are we in fact just making excuses for people? People have talked about obesity being a disease. People talk about smoking and drinking being a disease. Or is it something to do with our behavior? Recently I was at the gym. We'll just call it the Idaho Athletic Club because that's what it used to be called. And I was, what you do at the gym while I was on location for Miller's Mission. To benefit everybody but myself, I go take a shower. And while I'm getting dressed, there's a gentleman that coming in. This is very early in the morning. He had the bariatric surgery, and he was still working out. He had to do it because he wanted to live. He didn't blame anybody else. He didn't blame the food manufacturers. He just went in and did his job each and every morning. is that a disease? What's next when we're talking about a disease? But the idea of gaming disorder at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what's next? Is that going to be covered by the ADA? And again, I'm not belittling the ADA, but we take a look at these things and we think to ourselves, how outrageous can it be when we're talking about people addicted to the gaming, when in fact you just take a look at yourself and say, enough is enough. I have to go in and do the right thing. I have to go in and make sure that I have responsibilities. And for some people, they are, in fact, just carried away with gaming. Maybe this is somebody that you know of. But to officially list this as a disease, as something that you get treatment for, how does that work? Do you go in and do all of a sudden, when you go in, do they zap you or something like that? And so you don't want to do this? Again, you don't have to be around people that work hard all the time to get this appreciation. Coming up next, a new ad from Gillette shows a dad teaching his transgender son how to shave. First, traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:25 with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Dave. So now we have Gillette razors making your first shave political. That's right, political. It's funny that when conservatives or Christians or conservative Christians or people of faith espouse their faiths, you have people in the commercial world saying, I don't know if I want those folks around. You need to stay in the closet. Remember when we used to joke about being in the closet? And we had people that were in the gay community. They always said they were in the closet. In fact, in The Sopranos, Sil was always talking about people in the closet and how devious they were and that sort of things. And I can remember many mornings waking up to Treasure Valley saying, pretty soon, conservatives, Christians, religious folks are going to be in the closet. Now, what I don't comprehend, maybe you can help me out with this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Maybe you've done this, or your dad was there when you shaved for the first time. So the latest ad from Gillette is an ad giving a heartwarming look at a transgender man's first shave. The video features a transgender activist and his father who walks him through the rite of passage. Quote, I always knew I was different. I didn't know there was a term for that type of person that I was. The activist says, I went into my transition just wanting to be happy. I'm glad that I'm at a point where I'm able to shave. And then it cuts to the activist and his father in front of the bathroom mirror. Now, again, I can't keep score, but here's what they say. I'm at a point in my manhood where I'm actually happy. It's just myself transitioning. It's everybody around me transitioning. Now, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, could you imagine if there was somebody that was a pastor or a minister and they were wearing a cross and they said, my first shave, God has blessed me with a son. And son, just as my father showed me, this is a rite of manhood. Your first shave. But for some reason, Gillette, remember, toxic masculinity, Gillette just doesn't seem to like heterosexual men, in my opinion. Gillette deciding that it's more than a shave or more of man, whatever. To me, this is not about advertising. It's about promotion. And many people in America say, look, whatever you do, great. Just don't put it in my face. Just sell me a shaver. Sell me the shaving cream. But does anybody really want to see a transgender man in transition all of a sudden going through the first shave? Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but there is a method to this. And why in the world don't we have the Christians, the people of faith, instead of mocked? No, we're ridiculed. We're put in the closet. Well, we won't thought that. You're telling me that the new Gillette ad featuring a transgender person transitioning is more mainstream, more relevant than somebody of faith talking about God and being thankful for what they have in our country today? It shows you how the media and it shows you how other people are distorting our own values and views against us. Your call's next. Plus, is it time for a national day of prayer for the president? Give you the details and your reaction with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Rolling right along on the right side, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's quickly go to Lincoln in Star. Lincoln, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing?
Not bad, and you?
Doing all right. Hey, just wanted to chime in on your Gillette thing. This isn't the first political stand they've made. And I personally don't use it anymore, so I don't really have, that's the case. But I really think this falls on us as conservatives and Christians and even people with values that don't align with mainstream media and the left side. I think we just all kind of taken a back seat. As a conservatives, I think we're pretty well keep our nose out of other people's businesses and want to live our lives and not be bothered by stuff. And I think because of this, we've seen a massive takeover really, everywhere. Like, I'll never forget talking to a guy about, journaling and publishing. And as a kid, I was like, hey, this is a cool career. And he said, it's not for the honest people. You don't want to go into it if you're an honest person. I think that's the attitude a lot of people have. And I think because of we've lost strong conservative voices there in our education system. I've been told before that people in the education system weren't good enough for anything else. I think that's definitely not true. But I think that's where we're at. We've lost control of these things because we've let them go. We haven't stepped in and fought for them. So I kind of think that's where that's at. And I agree with you that Gillette's making a very strong political stand. And because of it, they're, what they're going to do.
Lincoln, I appreciate you listening, and thank you for the points, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Eben Brown joining us for Fox News Radio. Eben, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us here. KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Fox News on the radio, and we've got some litigation going on concerning the some of the drug makers.
Well, yes, this is a lawsuit in Oklahoma that is just getting underway this morning, suing Johnson & Johnson over suspected roles in distributing opioids and contributing to the nation's opioid epidemic, and specifically in the state of Oklahoma. The lawsuit is very interesting because a lot of these lawsuits have normally been settled out of court, where the drug makers agree to pay substantial fines, but any type of evidence or whatever is not made public and not brought out into, not brought through to the public through a court hearing. This case is different. There is going to be a revelation of documents and a hearing of testimony, and this might be something that could change the way these lawsuits in other states proceed, especially if there is newsworthy or interesting bits of information that come from the documents and the testimony.
Yeah, that's what we've been hearing about, Eben, and the idea that what could be, I guess, brought to the public could be very disturbing to the opioid makers, right?
Well, that is the belief, that there would be damaging information that would essentially really nail down the culpability of many of these drug makers with regard to opioids, and not just that they are being made, but that they're being mass-produced, and that there is pressure to prescribe them to patients who will then turn around and buy them either with cash or through their insurance, their drug coverage from their insurance companies, and essentially find addiction for profit. They are essentially looking for a similar instance with the tobacco manufacturers in the 80s and 90s, when the tobacco cigarette makers were saying that we don't believe nicotine is to be addictive, and then that came back to haunt them. I think those seeking help from the courts are kind of hoping for a moment like that, where they can find something in the documents and in the testimony that would show that these drug companies knew what they were doing. They knew of the dangers of these drugs, and yet they were still pushing them and overproducing them and pushing them even more for profit.
Eben, thank you very much.
You got it.
Eben Brown joining us. Let's go to Dwight in Boise. Dwight, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Dwight.
Hello, Kevin. Kevin, regarding Gillette, I think we ought to just boycott them and not even say anything to them. Let them figure it out the hard way. I want to talk about what I think is the real cause of Christians feeling like they have to be in the closet. It's Christians doing nothing for generations. This is the problem with conservatism. This is the reason conservatism is on the run, when yet we hold the strong hand in the debate. We have the truth on our side, but the liberals are firing off their lies with extreme self-confidence because they are confident that we are not going to enter the debate. So Christians are now on the run, and Gillette is running these ads. And evil is stalking this world because the people of faith have been sitting on their derrieres. And the reason that we sit on our derrieres, and I'm going to say something that's going to make everybody angry, the reason that Christians do nothing is because a fundamental part of our incorrect, non-biblical dogma is that we believe we are saved for nothing. We believe we have won the ultimate prize in our own dogma. Not Jesus' gospel, but Christian dogma. We believe we have won it already because we believe some biographical information about Jesus, which I believe myself. But I don't believe that we should sit and do nothing.
And Dwight, thank you for that. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It really comes down to, if you're just tuning in, there's a new ad from Gillette where you have a transgender transitioning, I don't know from what to what, but transitioning. And what it is your first shave. Now, how many remember your first shave with your dad, your granddad, what have you, or your mom for that matter, right? Anyway, here we have Gillette saying this is a rite of passage and everything else. Remember, Gillette was the folks that gave us toxic masculinity. Now, okay, Gillette has a right, an opportunity to do that all the time, right? They make a lot of money. They sell a lot of blades and razors and everything else. Contrast that with, when's the last time you saw a secular ad promoting somebody of faith? A church, a synagogue. When's the last time somebody decided to embrace the faith-based community? I've been told, maybe you've been told, well, don't get too religious. Wasn't this country founded on the freedom to worship as one chose? Wasn't this country founded on the ability to express yourself, whether you were a faith-based person or not? I don't see anything in the Constitution concerning transitioning and transgender behavior. I don't see anything in the Constitution concerning abortion. I do see in the Constitution to be a person of faith. And as Dwight was saying, responding to my statements as well as Lincoln, isn't it fascinating that these major corporations, led by Gillette, American company, I believe, made in Boston, got a lot of libs there. First, toxic masculinity. Well, I'm tired of being a man. I'm tired of bullying, as if men are evil. In fact, if you're a guy, it's time to be an endangered species. You take a look at most television shows and everything else. Who are the leaders? The young ladies. Or the not so young ladies. Nothing wrong with that, but we're replacing men. Now, some people say it's about time, right? What lesson does that share to young boys and not so young boys? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. From our friends east of the Great River, WBT Television, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said last week she's praying for the president after he walked out on a meeting on infrastructure. Now, Franklin Graham, you remember him, he's been here to the Treasure Valley, is asking Christians across the nation to join her. Graham said His reasoning may not be in line with the House Speaker, but Graham and 250 other Christian leaders have said this Sunday, June 2nd, should be a special day of prayer for the president in hopes God will protect, strengthen, and embolden and direct the president against his political foes. I don't think you ever had that for Obama. Thank you, Obama. He's inviting Pelosi and other Democrats who have accused the president of engaging in a cover-up, according to MSNBC. Now, it could go on and on and on, but you have people attacking the president. Here we have it. I wonder how many folks in the Treasure Valley, your place of worship, will say, let's have a special day of prayer for the president of the United States. Well, we can't do that. That's a violation of church and state. Is it? To have a special day of prayer for the president of the United States, considering Nancy Pelosi, you remember that last week, where she's saying, I'm going to pray for the president of the United States. I'm going to pray for him. Right? Now, was she sincere in that? Was she sincere in that again and again when we heard this clip?
Again, I pray for the president of the United States.
I like what Franklin Graham has to say.
Again, I pray for the president of the United States.
Especially if she's thinking about putting the country through impeachment.
That the House Democratic Caucus is not on a path to impeachment, and that's where he wants us to be.
Right. It's the president. It's not the president that goes on television all the time saying impeach, impeach, impeach.
And I do think that impeachment is a very divisive place to go in our country.
So here we have it warmed up for you right in the bullpen at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We have Nancy Pelosi saying, pray for the president. Franklin Graham saying, let's have a national day of prayer for the president. And why don't major corporations or local corporations embrace the often neglected but entirely influential faith-based community? That and more before Glenn Beck. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:47. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling on the right side, blessed to be with you. Franklin Graham calling for a special day of prayer for President Trump. Gillette embracing the transgender community. And, of course, where in the world is our America? All that before Glenn Beck here on KIDO Talk Radio. I do want to remind you the Boise Music Festival just around the corner. Coming up very soon, we'll be giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival. Check out Pitbull, Tone Loc, and everyone else. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. To the phones, Pro-Life joins us now. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Yeah, you know, when you're talking about praying for the president, what you have to really consider is, do I want the president to do what I want him to do, or do you want the president to do what God really would have him do? And that's there could be a big difference in that. Now, Nancy Pelosi is going to pray, you know, probably that Trump will come to her position because she thinks maybe that is God's position, but the Democrats, they're trying to throw God out of their party, so that makes no sense whatsoever. But if you don't know what God's position on government is, then you better find out and really study that and try to figure out just how, you know, what Jesus' rules would be, not, you know, what the cultural rules are. So that's my, I'm going to pray about it, and I'm going to pray that Trump will do what Heavenly Father, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost would do. And that is probably radically different than he's already doing. So anyway, that's about what we all should do.
So you're a radical?
No, I think God's a radical compared to our society. So, you know, I mean, God would say, no, we're not going to kill any babies. We're not going to allow adultery, sexual perversion. We're not going to allow lying through government. You know, we're not going to let attorneys just run everything. I mean, you know, we're going to have things a lot different, but we're not there at all, and President Trump can't get there because, you know, if the people aren't there, then the leaders aren't going to be there.
Well, who's to say that the people aren't there? It's just the media and the Democrats that aren't there.
No, the people aren't there. You know, when the people really promote violent sports and they drink a lot of alcohol, they take drugs, you know, maybe like marijuana. We're against recreational marijuana. All kinds of stuff. You know, they don't take care of their bodies. They don't take care of their relationship to God. And so if the people did that, then, you know, then the leaders would just, they'd say a lot of different things, and they'd run a lot of different, you know, they'd be different kinds of politicians. No, it's the people. We're the blame.
Pro-life, thank you for the call.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, we'll see you. This just in from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today left in place a lower court ruling in favor of a Pennsylvania school district policy that allows some transgender students to use bathrooms that match their gender identity. Now, I'm confused on this, so bear with me. The case is a challenge to Pennsylvania's school district policy that allows some transgender students to use bathrooms that match their gender identity. The plaintiffs are students who say the policy, by the way, students brought this up, violates their privacy rights and constitutes sexual harassment in violation of Title IX, a federal law that bars discrimination based on sex in educational institutions that receive federal funds. The ruling was issued without comment. In court papers, lawyers for the plaintiffs argue that forcing a teenager to share a locker room or restroom with a member of the opposite sex can cause embarrassment and distress, and yet the conservative Supreme Court decided to keep that law into effect. We fought for Kavanaugh for this. We backed Roberts for this. Where is our return on investment? KIDO Talk Radio Time, 8:55. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. So you're going to have a lot of people discussing this later on in the day. Let's get to it. The policy was a drastic change from the way locker rooms and restrooms have been regulated for the entire history of the public school systems. Lawyers for the district that defended this policy, that it said if you want to identify as something else besides your birth, you can do so and you can go into the restrooms. Now, again, I don't know why anybody would want to go into a men's restroom or locker room. They are not fun places. They are not happy places. They're not good places to be. I can tell you, I used to clean them all the time in malls and other places. It is not a fun place to be. Again, they wanted to align with their gender identity because the district believes that transgender students should have the right to use the school bathroom and locker facilities on the same basis as non-transgender students. This lawsuit was brilliant because it went to Title IX saying, well, what about the way that it's always been? And if I'm uncomfortable as a boy sharing a locker room with a transitional female to a male, don't I have the same rights? And according to the Supreme Court, you don't. So here we have it. They say the permission is not automatic, but when a transgender student requests to use facilities that comport with his or her gender identity, they have several conversations with a guidance counselor. Now, I thought a guidance counselor was supposed to guide you on a career, hence the term guidance counselor. Like I can remember my guidance counselor saying, you're not going to the University of Nebraska. You're not getting a football scholarship. You would be better off going to Jabroni State. Well, probably right on that one. I didn't ask him if I was going to transition because that just didn't come up. And many years ago, are we creating these own environments or did we just ignore them? Getting back to the Supreme Court decision, though, so it's based on the guidance counselor. Well, what happens if the guidance counselor believes, I'm sorry, that's not a legitimate request? What do? Sue the guidance counselor? Then the school board has to defend that. And once again, we're distracted from what schools are intended to do, which is to teach the greatness of America, to teach kids real life skills. So when they graduate, they can become productive members of the workforce and again, pay for all the debts that we've run up against them. It's crazy that we allow these social issues, whether it's Gillette and their shaver or this recent Supreme Court decision, to hijack the cultural values of today. It is just ridiculous. Once again, another reason why we thank the Lord that we live in Idaho. And by the way, it's time that I thank you for helping us with Miller's Mission, benefiting the Boise Rescue Mission. Today, we'll be counting pennies at Cap Ed on Overland and Meridian. You're welcome to stop by. We've got a lot of pennies thanks to Mrs. Miller's business, Hope Blooms Flowers and Things, I'll be driving the van because I've got so many pennies to donate thanks to you. But you've made a difference. We really appreciate you. Ray Amaya, great job. Good to be back in the broadcast center. God bless everybody. Keep the faith.